amazing breakfast. Tell me
I
all about your breakfast.
did. Yeah, I met up with one of my subbies for brunch, and he was going to cook, but yeah, I took over a little bit because I'm a bit of a control freak. So we had avocado, bacon. What else do we have? Loads of rocket and poached eggs because I can cook them to perfection. So he did all the washing up, obviously. It was yummy. What did you have?
I had eggs with egg whites with English muffins.
You don't like the yolk?
Some well, I'm trying to watch my cholesterol a little bit, but yeah, I do. I have no problem with you, but I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. But
That's right.
yes, enough about breakfast. Let's get on with our day. Let's get on with our day, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with a legend, with a magnificent woman. I am proud to call her my friend, a light in the kink community, from the UK. Please welcome, be on your best behavior for Miss Kaz B. Say hi. How you doing?
Well, there.
So, Miss
I'm
Kaz B, what's inspiring you these days?
What's inspiring me in terms? Do you mean in terms of writing books or in my
In
domination?
general, just in general, just people need inspiration. There's a lot of hopeless people out there, and they need to be inspired to do something, anything. So, what's inspiring you?
I think we live in a world that's so fast paced, and we've always got information coming at us constantly. So sometimes, if I do feel a little bit of a creativity stifle, which isn't that often, I like to get out into nature and just walk and just clear my head and feel all the pressures melt away. And I think just being around good people as well, other people that inspire you, uplift you, and motivate you. And I think if you can laugh every single day of your life, it's going to keep you inspired.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I need laughter in my life. I
Yeah.
so need laughter, and I like laughing with other people, not at people, but necessarily with other people. So, what was that quote again? I'm going to write that down. If you need,
I think, yeah, if you laugh every single day of your life, it does inspire you, it makes you more creative, and you're happier and more fulfilled.
yeah,
You know, you see a lot of
definitely.
people as they get older because they start getting bitter. If they don't laugh enough or have enough fun.
I also think that life is pretty silly and absurd, and it's like, of course, I had a liver transplant, and I almost died, and I was kind of laughing of the absurdity of the whole thing. Like, yeah, of course, because it's not fair. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of look at it. So let's
That's what
get
dark
since
humor.
last we spoke. Since last we spoke, you just came out with your book, right? But you have other books. You have 6 books, totally. So we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about some other things. So first of all, let's just start off. What has changed? What's been going on since the last time we spoke?
God, when was it that it was about 2 years ago, wasn't
About
it
two
now?
years ago. Yeah.
So, I mean, so much has changed. I've got my own apartment. I've been writing like an absolute nutter. Blogging, I think the blogging has really helped a lot as well. I've produced a documentary. It's nearly finished with a friend of mine. Well, there's just been so much happening. It's non-stop. So it's doming, writing, the documentary, and general world domination. Lots of
Doming,
sites. They're always fun.
writing the documentary.
Love
All right,
those.
well, we're going to talk about, we have sunshine.
I love sunshine
Hello,
too.
beautiful Princess Kaz B, welcome. And then Shay Patrick Cormack
Yeah.
says, greetings, Mistress Kaz and Nicholas. Oh, we've got tons of fans. Stranger Unknown says, Princess Kaz, nice to meet you. Aki Patel, tell him to show the total.
I can lower my camera if needs be. Shall I stand? I'll stand up quickly. Hang on. I will stand up so you can see the outfit. I have on this little corset, a bodysuit, leather skirt. Don't know if you can see that. Fishnet tights. And if you want the heels, they're in my handbag.
Brent Shelley says, good evening, guys. Really looking forward to watching the interview. One thing I have to say, I want to start it off like this. I've been starting it off, but you are loved. You are loved. You are someone who does things. You're constantly active. You're writing. You're producing events, a documentary, which I'm definitely going to talk about that. So In your opinion, how did this happen? How are you so loved and adored by the kink community? It's right. It's rightfully so. But what was your secret?
I don't think there's a secret to it at all. I think I have time for people. I understand people. I empathise. And people don't always remember what you say. Famous quote, they remember how you make them feel. So my role is to always make people feel good.
They don't remember what you say. They remember how you feel. That's a magnificent quote. So let's talk about other things. FUM. What is FUM?
Have a guess. I bet you can't guess.
Forgive us, mother.
Oh, very good. I like it. It's fluffed up media.
Okay.
This is the umbrella company. When I make my documentaries, at the minute, the first one is obviously all about kink and BDSM. But as I go on, I want to expand and do more topics. So that's going to be the main umbrella company for all of the documentaries. Do you like the name?
I love the name. I absolutely love the name. So let's talk about this documentary. I love documentaries myself. I was watching today, this morning, as I was making my breakfast, my egg whites. The documentary hated by about Gigi Allen for that, but still, it's a documentary.
Yeah.
Tell us about this documentary. Tell us all about it.
So it started many years ago. I did a documentary with a producer called James Esposito, and then he introduced me to that world. And then my friend Jen Hopkins is a YouTuber, so we decided to make our own documentary then. And she's a YouTuber. She shadowed me for a year to watch what I do. So she observed sessions. She watched, and the whole premise was, do you think you could do it? And obviously, I can't give away the ending because that will ruin it. But yeah, so she's seen everything from me pegging, spanking, humiliating, degrading, and just sort of behind the scenes stuff as well. Like, what's it really like to be a dom?
When you see filming a documentary, I'm working on one myself. I have tons of content also, so I'm working with that. But seeing yourself, right, and then seeing what you did before, it's a trip, right? It's surreal. So how do you deal with that? I know a lot of people who make content, they don't care. They put it out and it's gone once it's, but a documentary is something you have to edit. You have to fine tune. You have to take things out and make sure you put things in and stuff like that. So how do you find that balance?
I think it's really important to be self-critical and always ask yourself, how could I improve this? If I was a viewer and I was watching this, what's missing? What have I got right? Am I bored? There were certain bits we watched that we've done so far. And I'm sat there thinking, well, one, we've gone off on a tangent. Two, I'm no longer interested. That needs to go. That needs to go. And she, we're very similar people in terms of that kind of thing. So we agreed and we realised what was missing. So I think you have to watch it. You have to be analytical. And, you might think it's the most brilliant thing in the world, but you've got to think, how are other people going to perceive this? And also, it's about including other people. It's not just about, us two. It's bringing in other people to it as well and giving some community.
And it's a responsibility, right? Because it's a responsibility to your friends and the people in the film, but it's also kind of responsibility for, as a member of the kink community, and because you're documenting something real. That's wonderful. Have you noticed editing or your approach to the documentary? How has writing books and your writing how has it helped you in filmmaking?
I think it's helped a lot. I think when I've got so many, I'm ADHD anyway, I've got so many thoughts in my head. Writing has always been a really good way to clarify what I'm thinking. So it's therapeutic and it allows me, it's taught me a lot about structure as well. So everything has to be a story, whether it's TV, documentary, a book, and it has to have obviously the beginning, the middle, the end, and it has to build. So I think doing the writing has helped me build that structure with the documentary as well.
We're going to talk about books.
Yeah.
Definitely talk about books. I'm a writer. I'm gonna love to talk about books, but let's plug your site. UK/fetish dot co.uk.
Yeah.
.co.uk. UK/fetish.co.uk. Please tell us all about that. What can we expect? Why isn't everyone going to that site right now?
Oh, they should do. Go and have a look. You'll find it very interesting. I think the best thing about my website, obviously, it showcases my work, but I've done many, over the years, many in-depth blogs. So you can find out what it's like to have a real life session, how to douche for pegging. There's so much there. There's a wealth of content which aims to entertain and educate at the same time as well. So have a look.
Stan Vladimir asks a question which I did ask in my previous interview, but he wants to ask it, and so let's find the answer. What inspired you to become a dominatrix, and how much of it changed your life?
It really changed my life, because probably going back 5 years, no longer than that. Let's head back to 2014. I was in the adult world. I wasn't enjoying it. And it's given me a new lease of life. I love most of my clients. They're great. It's given me freedom. It's given me all the time in the world to sit and write these books as well. If I was commuting to London every day and traveling, you've got no life left, have you? When you work for yourself and you're self-employed, you might have the odd hour here and there, which I've utilized by, injecting that extra time and energy into my books.
And Grants, Shelley says, it's a great blog
Wow.
website. Very
Cute.
informative. So let's talk about your books. Writing a book is a major event in someone's life, regardless of how it's received, right? It's you.
Yeah.
As a writer, I put everything into the book. Nothing mattered until it was published. It was the coolest way to kill yourself. That's what, like, writing it was the coolest way to kill myself, so to speak. I wrote a book called The Coolest Way. So what?
Chapters, keep editing and editing.
Yeah. So first of all, let me ask you this: what was the initial response for your books? Because yes, you are a dominatrix, but you are an author. You're a creative person. And some people don't know you. There are people who know you who are like, oh yeah, I'm very interested in the book, and you already have a following. But then there's also people who have no idea who you are, and they react. What was their reaction?
It's been surprisingly positive. There hasn't really been any bad feedback at all, and I'm expecting to get some at some point. I think the more books you sell, at some stage someone's not going to like it. But yeah, I've been overwhelmed by the support as well, from the kink community, from Twitter, from friends. Everyone has been super supportive, and I'm really grateful for that.
So you planning on writing more books? And what do you got planned?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think,
tell us about it.
Unless you're, J.K. Rowling, or most authors don't get rich writing books.
No.
But you've got to love it. As you know, you've got to love it. You've got to have that passion and drive. Yeah. You've got to want to create a world with words, and just get the words rolling across the page and creating fantasy lands.
Did you ever notice that the dialogue in sessions can be used in your books? So what are some things that you've said in a session, or vice versa, that you've written in a book that you're like, I'm going to use this in a session, or vice versa? Yeah,
absolutely. I think you're right there. One has inspired the other. So I've been writing something in a book, and I thought, what would this character do next? And then I'm like, I should do that. That's pretty good. And then I've also been in a session, and then basically been inspired by the things I've written as well. So I would say, yeah, quite a lot. I mean, the latest book that's coming out, and I still can't say the title. I keep checking Amazon to see if it's on live. It should be live very soon. It's got real life stories in there. So it's got sessions from myself. So you can find out about, for example, it opens with one of my subs wearing a tutu dancing around to Swan Lake to entertain me. And then in the back, we've got more of the kink collective as well. So there's stories from other people.
Yes.
So
that's awesome. That's wonderful. So, all right. So you have 6 books. Some of them are poetry.
yeah,
Like, you know, okay, but yeah, some of them. So your books, how would you say each book is different? Because I have 3 books, and although they are connected, they can be standalone books. It's more enjoyable if you do read them together, but there's no need to read all of them at the same time. You know, you can read one in any order. So, do you have a favorite of your books? Do you have one that, not necessarily money, not necessarily response, just one that really is close to your heart?
Yeah, I think my favourite book actually out of all of them is nothing to do with kink at all. It's a book called Death the Illusion. So one evening I went to bed and I had the most absurd, realistic, real dream about being reincarnated or nearly reincarnated. And I woke up and went, wow, you know, that blew my mind. I'm going to have to write this into a story. So, I mean, that's probably my personal favourite because it's just different to what I normally do. But
What is the name of that again?
It's called Death the Illusion.
Mm-hmm.
So the illusion of death is the premise, the fact that do we die? Does that energy go on? What happens next? But it's fictional, obviously.
Now, I have a running series called Our BDSM Erotic Author Friends, where I interview people and I ask these 3 questions. And it's a way to kind of get promotion. So I had, like, you know, different authors all together on the same thing. And I'm planning on doing another one. But these are the questions. And the first question is, how much of your work is based on real life experiences and how much is from your imagination?
It's about 50-50, I'd say. So when I first started writing Sordid Secrets, a lot of that was based on things that happened. But the original story, it was a short story I wrote before I wrote the book. It was a trans character because I was exploring those kind of ideas at the time. So I took inspiration from my own life, but I'd love to embellish as well. So exaggerate, embellish. Sometimes my life is so crazy, you don't even need to. But I mean, the focal character is not me. It's someone that, if she existed, I'd really admire her because she's a lot more headstrong than I am.
All right, cool.
Very tough, sadist, which I'm not. Well,
so the second question is, how do you think BDSM is misrepresented in books?
I mean, yeah, I think it's got a lot better. I think since 50 Shades come out, and that's kind of not my thing at all, but I think it's had a really positive impact on the kink community and, you know, upon journalism and media as well, because you open any woman's magazine now and you'll see headlines popping out such as I'm 70 and I'm a dominatrix, or you know, all those kind of things. It's become really popular and people don't, that's disgusting, how very dare you, that's despicable. They're like, oh, you're what, really? Tell me more, I'm so fascinated. So what do you do then? Tell me. So yeah, I think the media has become a lot more understanding. It's only more the kind of, I'd say there's a very far right wing segment in America that's very disgusting. The UK is a little bit different.
I think it comes in cycles, really. It's, you know, it comes and goes where, well, at least in this country, in America, it gets very conservative and then it gets very free. And then if you look through time, like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and then the 90s and the aughts, and it keeps, there's waves of creativity. There's waves of expression. And I wouldn't be surprised if that comes from that wave of suppressing, you know, throughout time. So let me ask you this. How has writing helped? How's writing helped other people, and how has it helped yourself?
So when I first started writing my autobiography, for example, I never knew that I was going to publish it. It was just to record my thoughts and rationalize. And then as I went on, I'm like, actually, I think this would be quite interesting to other people. And it's funny, the amount of people who said, I've read your book, there's so many bits that really resonated with me, or they've been through something similar. And I think it's just kind of nice when people are aware that they're not on their own, that someone else has been through these things as well. So I've loved the feedback. It's been great. I'm glad I put this in the book. I put, if my story helps one single person, it's been worth writing.
Okay, we have Stan Vladimir is gonna ask the Stan question.
Yeah.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your kink life?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do you know what? I think I can have any power, right? I think, can I split myself into 3?
Sure.
Be more productive. I can do more sessions. One of me could be writing, one could be working, the other me could be walking around a forest. That's what I want.
There's a new I thought of a new answer for that, because that's a running question that Stan asks.
Yeah.
And I was thinking this: what if you had the power? I don't know if I'd want this power, but what if you had the power to dom someone in their dreams?
Ooh, I like it. Yeah.
Like, anybody in the world, you could have a session that you have total control over, they don't, and they wake up and they're like back to like the regular life, and you could do that over every night if you want. Who would you do that to?
Couldn't you? I think the power would just go to your head. I really do. But one thing I have started doing recently is hypnosis, and that I enjoy a lot, and it's something I want to dabble with a lot more. You will go to my website.
Yeah, go to your website. Go to Kaz B. Give Nicholas Tanek and Kaz B money. You want to give Nicholas Tanek and Kaz B money, lots of money.
Get your tips in now, naughty people.
Duplication, nice. Okay.
He likes it. See?
We have some questions. Shay Patrick
as well, and I could do a spit roast with myself and the sub in the middle.
Yes, a spit roast with yourself and the sub in the middle. Wow, and you could give each other high fives, and you could like
Go girl.
You could do like other things, like you could talk about taxes and the weather and stuff like that. It's a nice day today, isn't it? You know? And the sub's just like, oh. Shay Patrick Cormack says, Mistress, what's the longest time you've had someone in chastity?
Probably, I got someone to write a journal for me. I think it was 6 weeks, and I got them to catalogue every single day, every new thought that come into their head. So they started off with a few kinks, chastity being one of them. By the end of it, they were going, Mistress, I'm so desperate. I would suck I don't know if I can swear, COCK for you right now. So he found that his thoughts become more depraved because he didn't have that release of testosterone, but it just got more and more kinky as it went on. And I found that like a really interesting psychological exploration.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. It definitely is. I'm in. First of all, just so you know, I'm in chastity right now. My queen is downstairs. What?
How long? How long have you done?
Just for this episode. I was released yesterday, and we had a lot of fun yesterday. To say we went to bed really early, and yeah, and so we just play around for a couple days, right? We play around for a couple days, and the psychological aspect of chastity is wild. It really is. The thoughts, the rabbit hole that goes deep, and the things that both of the dom and the sub can do with each other is fascinating, and it's a beautiful roller coaster ride. So we got some other things. Grant Shelley says, Mistress Kaz doms me in my dreams every night.
Yes, I do. You will think of me when you wake in the morning and when you go to sleep at night, and you will not stop.
Joseph asks, hey, do you like armpit lick? I have very much interest in licking armpit sweat and want to have a session with a dom. What's your view on?
Shall I show my armpit?
Yeah, show it.
It out? I think I've shaved it. Yeah, it's fine. I have. Just checking. Well, it's probably quite sweaty because it's very hot under the lights. So you can come and give it a little clean. Right, that's enough now. It's going back on. Go on.
And of course, I knew this was coming. Before we get to the other questions, you asked, do you have toilet slaves?
I do water sports, yes. I don't do the other variety, which people seem to beg me for. I don't get involved with that. Yeah, it's just too smelly for me, sorry. Too smelly. I don't like mess. I don't even like getting my hands greasy with oil and stuff like, so.
To add to the you spit roasting someone with yourself, that whole dynamic, which is still marinating in everyone's minds. You could pleasure yourself and the other two will be dominating one of your clients. So if you had 3 of yourselves, cloning is an interesting thing. Shout out to Starla Vamp. We were talking today on Twitter Spaces, about sex clones and sex robots and everything like that. Siddhartha asks, hello, goddess. You are wearing a lovely shining dress. Is that PVC? Do you have leather or PVC?
Oh, I like both. So I've got a PVC body on, a PVC and it's PVC and fishnet, PVC corset, and then it's like a leatherette skirt. So kind of like vegan leather. But yeah, I love both. Latex, not a huge fan. Have you worn latex?
I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask this again because you're a writer, and writers write. So, what are some of the worst names for sex organs? Or not just sex organs, worst names used in erotica, or like things that you shouldn't, like you read and you're like, oh, I could have worded that better.
I find the word mound a bit annoying. I don't know why it irritates me, but it really does if I see that, because it reminds, a mound is like a pile of rubble, or it's not sexual at all, is it? I asked my friend this question earlier as well, because I saw the note she sent me. What was it they said? He said, I like the word willy. What word don't you like?
Willy.
So yeah, I think mound is the most annoying one.
I
got any?
There was turgid shaft.
Oh,
crevice. Crevice is a horrible.
Oh God, that's awful. I hate that. Like shaft is okay, but putting turgid in front just sounds rancid, doesn't it?
Yeah. Shaft is okay. Turgid is another story.
I hate the word moist. That sickens me to my soul. Can't stand it. We talk about mold here.
I was talking to another author, and she just has a pet peeve when they say sex, like I touched her sex, or she grabbed her sex. It just things get overused sometimes. That's all. Amit Kundu says, Mistress, you have beautiful armpit.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. You can sniff it virtually. There we go. Have a little sniff. Sniff, sniff. That's enough.
And Smarak Dash says, Your Highness, what's your opinion about chastity? I believe we talked about it, but is there anything else you want to add?
I love it. I think it's great. I'm probably not one of the most... I don't tend to do massive long stints with my subs in chastity, because I like to get into their brain. So just get them to the point where they've gone absolutely mental and they're begging me, saying, please, can I be released? Oh, yeah, you can be released, but you've got to entertain me and be funny and amusing. So you have to make them work hard.
What's the longest you've had someone in chastity?
About 6 weeks, I think. And I didn't actually meet him in person. He was just an online sub.
How do you stop them from cheating?
I don't think he did. The way his mind went, he seemed so sincere. I think he was really into this and just really wanted to experience the whole immersive feeling of being in chastity for 6 weeks and seeing how far it could send him, which was great. But when I have my real-time subs, I mean, sometimes they could just be in chastity for the session. And then, of course...
Service Submissive asks, well, first he said, Service Submissive says, thanks, Nicholas, for interviewing Mistress Kaz. Would love to know, does Mistress Kaz have any live-in slaves, and how's, with a Z, your relationship with her submissives?
No, I don't have a live-in slave. I don't, as much as I love doming and BDSM, I don't think I'd want to live the lifestyle 24/7, because a lot of subs want to be told every aspect of how to behave constantly. And I think I'd end up shouting, oh, just use your bloody initiative. Just do it. Go on, get out of my face. Get out of my sight. Go on, do it now. So I guess I'll never say never, but please don't start sending me loads of messages, guys, saying, can I be your living slave? No, you can't. Fuck off. Sorry.
I'd be your slave. People.
Oopsie, I'm sorry for swearing.
But no, it's okay. I'm wondering when people send messages, just can I be your slave? All my friends are dominatrixes, it seems, and they talk to me about that, and they're like, I got another message, and it's just like, can I be your slave? It's just, what do you think they're really going for? Is it just like a quick role play, like you telling them so they can jerk off, or is it, do they really want it, or like what is the goal? Like, how do they really think they're going to accomplish with just a quick message of, can I be your slave, or can I be your fuck doll, or can I be this, or can I be that? What do you think's going on in their head?
Different things for different people. So some of them are just chancers and opportunists, and they're thinking, I'm going to have a quick little tuggy Tommy Tank now. So they think we're that stupid. We're going to sit there texting them, which we don't, obviously. And I think there's some guys that are just a little bit naive and they need a bit more education. So if I'm getting that vibe, I will send them to my website and say, once you've read it thoroughly and understood, do feel free to ask me questions then. And then I think you've got the third camp where they'd love to do it, but they just end up bottling it because they're too nervous.
And Grant Shelley says winter tackle. That's what older men I know call it.
Brilliant.
You asks, do you practice trampling, base trampling? Have you ever tried aerobic on someone?
Yeah, I have done face trampling. You've got to be very careful, and you need to wear the right heels for it or go barefoot because the face is a more delicate area. Funny enough, I've done a lot more cock trampling than I have face trampling. And the balls are very squishy, so you have to kind of have a very good core balance.
The balls are squishy.
Yeah.
Squishy. That's true. Dan Vladimir asks, what are some of the more unique or odd sessions that you've had with a client? So yeah, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, the most unique or the most odd session you've ever had?
I mean, bearing in mind I'm pretty desensitized, I don't know what other people would class as odd, so I'm going to pick something that might be interesting to me but odd to someone else maybe. Pieing someone with plates of shaving foam in the face, like 20 plates. That was fun. Laughing him up. Splashing as well. I remember one of my subs in Reading used to love sitting in my bathtub and me just cracking eggs on his head. Loved it. Another guy used to sit in a gatto and I get him to spin in a circle and I just be giggling and laughing at him, and he's in this big gatto swiveling round, and then obviously after he's naked, his butt is in the cake. Then I get him to get on all fours and start eating it all up, so there's no mess left to it to eat a whole cake. Oh, and then there was another one. I guess this, you might class this as odd, but I thought it was kind of quite entertaining. The guy brought a bowl of mud with him, so I would smear the mud all over my feet, and then he'd lick the mud off my toes and off those little gypsies.
Licking licking mud off toes. Toes. That's interesting. So let's talk about platforms. All right, we have a mutual friend. I guess we can't say his name, but he's a good person. You had a podcast with him. He wrote books and everything like that. He is not the only person who kind of just gets up and has to disappear, has to take a break or something like that. Sometimes people come back, some people don't. People got to do what they have to do. I'm noticing this a lot lately. Why do you think that is? And what's your opinion of people of this happening in general?
I've seen it more with submissives rather than with doms. I don't know what your experience has been. But yeah, I think it's the whole thing is porn too addictive, isn't it? Even if you're working in it. And I think some people turn to BDSM because they've got a fetish and they want to interact with like-minded people. And it can be a very slippery slope, like getting a bit too addicted sometimes, where we've all done it. We start a bit of a scroll on Twitter and you realize you've wasted an absolute hour doing nothing. So I think it's all about keeping a healthy balance in life and having your personal time, your family time, your social media time, your BDSM time. And I think some people probably have recognized, you know, either that it's not bringing them happiness or money. And I think everything in life needs to bring you one of those things. Quote from my friend Jen.
Yeah,
Yeah, it needs to be one of those things.
it really, I like to think it really depends on how you use your fetish or use
Yeah.
your, you know what I mean? I have fetishes, but I'm doing this. I like to think that I'm using it for good. I'm trying to help people, connect people, make people feel not alone in their fetishes. So maybe they could do something positive. That's the goal. Whether I've accomplished that or not remains to be seen. So Joseph keeps on saying, "Take my question, please." How much money would it take to basically get their assholes licked? Do you offer this kind of service?
Me personally, I don't know. And no disrespect to other DOMs that offer that, that's fine. Everyone's got different values and different things that they're happy with. For me personally, it's not something I offer on my menu because it's just a little bit too intimate. And for me, I'm such a big worry. I'd worry about the hygiene and everything as well. I mean, they can sniff my bum, that's fine. But I don't want any tongues in there, thank you.
Speaking of humiliation and stuff like that, Shay Patrick Cormack asks, "Mistress, what are some of the most humiliating things you have done to a sub?"
Where do I start? Well, I have a blow-up tranny doll in my cupboard called Giselle. So I've made them interact with that, but they all want to suck the penis, basically. But I make them pleasure her first by micromanaging the way they pleasure her breasts and so on and so forth. So I guess you could say that's humiliating. What else have I done that's really humiliating? Probably public humiliation I don't do it anymore on Twitter because it's a bit too risky, but I used to do that on Twitter as well. I'd never showed the face, but I always threatened that I would. And this is my favorite, my personal favorite. I lean in and say to them almost like it's a euphemism, "So do you like to lick carpet?" And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, "Get down on your hands and knees and lick that carpet, you dirty little sissy. Lick it."
I'm looking at my carpet right now to see, yeah, it needs to be vacuumed a little bit. I gotta don the French maid outfit, I guess. You know, again, the week's over. Yeah. It's funny how every week, right? Let's go back to some questions. Stan Vladimir asks, "What are your thoughts on medical play?"
I admire medical play a great deal. It's not something I'm trained in myself, so I don't really do any aspects of medical play apart from obviously sounding. But I'll leave the rest of it to the professionals, I think. But yeah, it does look super fun.
Now, you did start, you had that podcast. Tell us about your podcast, your podcasting events, or your podcasting, activity these days. What's going on?
What, with Rumble?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's go with that. Yes, so I started up a Rumble channel with a friend, and unfortunately that friend has left the industry now. So I thought, why not jump on now and again with Nicholas and a few other people? And if I feel like doing a podcast on Rumble, I will, but it's just not my main focus. I love it, but I much prefer the interaction of bouncing off someone else.
One thing I've noticed, because, I follow you and, we talk and stuff like that. I noticed that on Twitter, you're letting your opinions be known a lot more. Which is beautiful. I love it. It's great. So, did something inspire you to kind of do that more, as opposed to just being the typical dom, so to speak? Your personality, your character is really shining through your content. So, did something inspire that change?
I don't know. I just started to feel compelled. And it's been one of those situations where I've almost had to stop myself sometimes, because I think if someone wants to have a little hand shandy, the worst thing to do is throw politics in their face, isn't it? The two just don't mesh that well. So I thought I was being quite subtle, obviously not. But I just think there's so much important stuff going on in the UK and in the world at the moment. So I try to sneak things in now and again subtly, because I do think more people need to wake up and understand what's going on. And I try not to get too heavily embroiled, but yeah, I just, it's back to that thing of if you can have one person, it's a world.
We'll get back to kink and fetish and keep this happy, but I do want to talk a little bit about politics, and also on how the UK is represented and how the American is represented. I view the UK as this wonderful place, the kink community of people doing like everything I've seen come out of the UK as an American. Maybe it's because I'm across the pond, right?
Yeah.
And I can't be. So there's that aspect that I can't have it. I'm not near it, so I want it more. I think that's a possibility. So that's really enticing to me, the UK kink scene. Now, the American kink scene, I'm asking honestly, how do you feel the typical UK person views the American kink scene, and how do you view the American kink scene?
Well, I think as Brits, we've always been that little bit more repressed. And it's funny now because Americans are getting more prudish, aren't they, in terms of media and what's allowed and so on. But their porn is more extreme. So that's the funny thing. The American porn is much more hardcore, much more extreme. But then when it comes to BDSM, I think maybe we are a little bit more sadistic sometimes. So yeah, I think it's interesting because of these whole new rules with MasterCard and Visa has really affected certain sites like OnlyFans, and then a lot of stuff that's kinky now. But I think kink is such a British thing, and when I started out, I've seen it change and evolve as well. So there were all the public school boys wanting to be spanked and caned, and now everyone's into pegging and being peed on. So there's been like a real kind of shift socially and in trends.
Let me ask you this, back to pegging. I want to ask the Kate West question that she always asks. Why are men so obsessed with their own assholes?
I would say it's very hard to access the male G-spot without going in there. It's positioned in such a unique place, right up deep in the rectum. So you do need, like, my fingers definitely wouldn't reach. You need a dildo or some kind of paraphernalia to hit that spot. And I think that's why men love it, because it's a different kind of orgasm. They can actually orgasm from that G-spot being hit, and it sort of milks the prostrate. So it's a different kind of feeling. And apparently it's a bit more intense. And I've been told it's kind of very, because women have more nerve endings in the clitoris. So it's a bit more like a woman having a multiple orgasm.
Yes, I want to talk about sissification and the kind of poetry of sissification. But before we do that, I want to talk about poetry, because there's a romance to sissification and there's a romance to poetry. And you wrote a book of poetry. So let's talk about poetry real quick. What do you love about poetry?
I think poetry is all about emotions and how it makes you feel. So whether it's dark, light, if the the mood is kind of poignant, I think it can just take you on a different journey and make you sort of almost slip your feet into someone else's shoes to see what they've been feeling, to see where their mind is at. And one of my favorite poems in the world is Oscar Wilde. Ballad of a Red in Jail.
Oscar Wilde, love Oscar Wilde. For comedic purposes, what do you hate about poetry?
I don't think I do. I don't think there's some poets out there that are really kind of a bit too morbid, and that wouldn't be my cup of tea, but someone else is going to love that. So I won't say I hate it. Yeah, nothing.
It's a great attitude. Seriously, great attitude. So let's talk about the poetry of sissification. The sissification narrative. All right. In porn, specifically, the sissification narrative is where a woman takes a man, locks him in chastity, dresses up as a woman, forced feminization, and basically pimps them out and changes. This is your life now. You're a sissy and stuff like that. And throughout the years and being in the community, viewpoints change. We evolve, we grow, and everything like that. So when it comes to the sissification narrative, has your opinion of it changed, evolved in any way? Is it different than it was when you first started?
Yeah. So when I started, I just saw them come in being sissies, having a good time. It was like playtime. It was kind of, you know, when you go back to your childhood, you've got your Barbies and you're dressing them up, putting makeup on them. It's just doing it with grown men, making them pretty and look great, and you've got this great bond. I get them to walk up and down, like I get them to do like America's Next Top Model. So they do the strut, they've got to look sexy without lumbering, and then they have to do like the little head flick out, and I love it. So I have seen a lot of doms saying, oh, some of these sissies that want to feel slutty are misogynists. But for me, it's just fantasy. It's just playtime. I don't think that they're trying to damage women by wanting to feel vulnerable. It's you know, for a woman to feel vulnerable, it's quite easy. For a man, it's harder because you've got different bodies. Your skin is tougher. You've created to have that hard mindset. So I think it takes a little bit more for them to get into that soft place of vulnerability.
So the feminist question kind of remains. I discussed this with my friend Mr. Shari from Mischief Matters quite a bit. How, right, as people in the community, as sex workers, as people in the community, how can we explore sissification without degrading womanhood?
Why should it have to degrade womanhood though? Because it is just a fantasy at the end of the day. They're not going out there. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's just playtime. If it's under the banner of playtime and fantasy, it's fine. You know, if they were walking into women's places of work and saying, you know, I should be allowed to come dressed in a bikini and sit next to you at your desk, that would be different. But they're not. It's behind closed doors. It's just a safe fantasy, a safe space.
And of course, John says Princess Kaz, and he doesn't capitalize the P or the K.
Oh, that's a cardinal sin. Did you know?
He capitalizes the I, capitalizes the I. He's always thinking about himself, isn't he? Narcissistic, right? Princess Kaz's lower space. You're writing to an author, a writer. Step up.
Please do it onces. You're not getting any spit for that. Sorry, you have to try harder.
I'm sorry. I'm very positive, John, but you kind of walked right into that one. Love you. Ask again. Ask more questions.
Yes. You can go private for that, darling.
Dan Vladimir, which actor would you like to have as a sub, and which actress would you like to have as a
okay. Let's start with actress. I'd go Margot Robbie. I would like her as a dom partner. She's very cool, and she's
Barbie.
Barbie, yeah. She's an absolute master of disguise, and she can play any role. So I'd love that. Not that I think she'd ever do it, but that would be great if that was the dream. So what actor would I like to have a sub? Oh, I don't know. I don't know any of them really, so I'll just be basing it on looks, which is a bit shallow. I'll just have Margot, I think.
All right. Well, speaking of having a dom partner, tell us about double doming. You've done double sessions. You've talked about it before. We've talked about it in the past, stuff like that. So, what is the key to what is the key to a good double dom session?
Surprisingly, it's actually about the chemistry between the two doms. So as long as you've got that chemistry and that connection, so to break this down into a snapshot, when you're working and you both have a similar idea, or you kind of give each other a look and you make eye contact and smile and you think, yeah, and you kind of like almost begin to read each other's minds a little bit as well, which is really nice. So if both girls get on really well, the sub's going to have a whale of a time. You know, even if he's not getting the most attention, he's going to love it because he's going to be feeling that strong chemistry.
Siddharth Matthews asks, Dear Mistress, do you get impact play requests for caning whipping? I'm going to rephrase this question, okay?
Yeah.
Impact play. There's so many ways of impact play. There's whips, there's floggers, there's canes, there's paddles, there's your hand, you know? So you get impact play requests, we know. A, the question is, do you like it? B, which is your favorite impact play toy?
Do you know what? I'm quite fond of the torse. So the torse, if you don't know, it's kind of, imagine a piece of leather like this, and then it's got separate, just like a hand, it's got separate little kind of bits on it that sit together. So when they separate, it gives an extra sting to the impact. And then one of my latest implements I bought, it's a paddle, it's quite heavy leather, but then it's got a cutout rectangle. So it's got, imagine like a leather margin around the side. So the fact that you're bringing this down, unleashing the power and lashing it down onto the flesh, it just goes that little bit further where say it's on the bum cheek, the bottom is protruding, and it goes down deeper, and it does deliver a good sting. And the dragon tail too.
Now we're gonna get a little sadistic. Johnson Lobo asks, most sadistic and brutal thing you did, and what extreme play can you indulge in, like your views on toenail ripping, finger bone breaking, etc. Has anyone done that before? Thanks. Thanks! Exclamation point.
That sounds like real torture from a gangster movie. So I definitely write that into some of my scenes if I was creating a film. But I don't think it's good to really put those things in a session because of consequences. So I like to have pain, or administer pain, in a very controlled way, with agreement and limits. So I did have someone come to me once and ask me to put straightening irons on their penis, which I give them a lecture for about half an hour about why you should not ask for this. So no.
Joseph's always asking about his butt being licked. But Patrick Cormack asks, do you offer overnight sessions? If yes, please tell us about it.
Yeah, I can happily chain you to the radiator in my bathroom while I just luxuriate and then relax in the bed and leave you there overnight. But you would be heavily changed and you won't have my attention, so.
I like that. Chain you to a radiator in my bathroom while I luxuriate.
I'll be nice in bed.
That's a quote. Let's go with it. Okay, we have some questions that are coming in left and right. What's the best way to tease a chastity slave?
Oh, it depends. Is it in person or from afar? So for example,
in person, what's the best way to tease a chastity slave?
I like to play with the key a lot. I like to say this is the key. I bet you're glad to come out of chastity, wouldn't you? Tie them up as well. They can't do anything. Bit of shibari. Would you like to be unlocked? And just that whole mental torment and psychological play where they think they're going to be let out, but then they're not.
Yes, I would like to be let out.
Oh, would you? Oh, well, what are you going to
do? Joseph keeps asking this question. Miss Kaz answered the question already, just so you know.
What's that?
It was about licking your butt.
No, you can't do that.
Adeline Martin says, hello, Princess Kaz and Nicholas. I just want to say that you are amazing and beautiful, Princess. Wish you happy life forever.
You do, lovely. Everyone deserves to be happy, don't they?
Okay, so ultimate kinky fantasy. All right. Miss Kaz B, let's say we have endless resources. We have endless resources. We could go anywhere in the world. You could do anything you want.
Yeah.
What do? It's your ultimate kinky fantasy. What do you do?
So I think it'd have to be somewhere hot and sunny, like Paradise Island with a waterfall and tropical trees, some nice rum cocktails, and I'd probably bring in like 10 of my favorite doms, get them all together in one place. And then there would be little subby serving us. We'd probably have some sissy ones, sort of strategically placed, be little dancers for us. Then we'd have a subs that would just carrying trays of canapé, and their job is just to be like a personal jester or joker, make me laugh, entertain my fellow mistress friends. And if you're very lucky, you might get a little spanking at the end of it. So yeah, but they're gonna have to be able to cook as well, I think.
We're gonna play a new game. Usually I do the word association game, but this is overrated, underrated. Okay? Yeah. So I'm gonna say a kink or a fetish. You say whether it's overrated or underrated and why. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Garter belts.
Sorry?
Garter belts.
Oh, garter belt. Oh, that's overrated.
Overrated, right? Why?
You know what you were saying earlier about things go through phases where they become
Mhm.
popular and trend, and then I think going back to like Hollywood in the golden era, they were very popular then. Do people really wear garter belts that much now?
Mm.
Let me just clarify. Do you mean the little strap that goes around the leg here, or do you mean a suspender belt? Because I thought you meant the leg strap here, and I'm now thinking maybe you mean a suspender belt.
Yeah, I was saying the suspender belt,
Oh, I
the
love
garter
those.
belt.
Great then.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wearing one now.
Yeah.
All right, so the next thing, face slapping, underrated or overrated? Why?
Mm, underrated. I wouldn't do it with everyone, but a nice slap with the right person can be quite erotic.
All right, the Symbian, the machine that people sit on, that you put chastity sissies on to drive them crazy or whatever you do. There's a lot of reasons. So the Symbian.
Overrated. I've seen one of these things several times, and they are so hardcore. Do you know what I think? I think sometimes a gentle touch is better. I don't think we need to go at it hammer and tongs, do you? Definitely overrated.
Sometimes a gentle touch is better.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes a gentle touch is better. Okay.
Subtle
All right.
truth.
Splashing, overrated or underrated?
Oh, I love it. Underrated. Wouldn't want it done to me, but I will happily mess someone up.
All right. Puppy
I
play, overrated.
did,
Sorry?
I did do it once. I was played the sub many years ago.
And you with what kind of food?
We went to this barn in North Wales, and it was me and this other model. It was modelling, not a session. And they were pouring cream, custard over us. And then at the end, they're like, "We're going to put the ice cream on, you know." We were like, "But it's really cold." And I was a bit naive, and I went along with it. Oh my God, it was so cold. And then when we finished, I said, "Okay, where's the shower?" And they were like, "Oh, there's no shower." Are you serious? I've got cold ice cream in my hair, and I now have to travel for 3 hours on the train. So yeah, I've never done it since. Lesson learned.
Joseph is saying he had asked a question about food play. I forget. Ask again, Joe. We weren't
Yeah,
talking about
question.
food play when you asked. All right, overrated, underrated. French maid outfits.
I think they're quite. I kind of like some of the cliches. You know, I do. I like the French maid, the bitchy boss, the
Oh yeah.
policewoman. They're classics for a reason, aren't they? So I'm gonna go with underrated.
Okay. Oh, back to splashing. Joseph says, "Do you allow food splashing, like sitting and eating cake and feeding them with your feet or mouth or body?"
Yeah. You can have it straight from the source. I will just spit it into your mouth. You could eat some cake from my feet if you begged me very hard. From my body, no, darling, don't be silly. You don't get to lick bits of me unless it's my legs or my lovely feet.
All right. Underrated, overrated. Strap on dildos.
Strap-on dildos.
Strap on
Uh,
dildos.
See, this is a tough one because it can't be underrated because they're rated highly and they're very popular and men love it. And I think most men, like 7 out of 10 men, would probably be persuaded to take a pegging. So let's go with underrated then. Yeah, based on that.
I think 7 out of 10 men, right? 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it used to be less, it's gone up. You're naughty, all of you. Very naughty.
Yes, very naughty. Okay, underrated, overrated. Rope.
Oh, I love rope. Yeah, totally underrated. I love having someone bound up and able to escape. It's so versatile as well, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. You could.
It's rope.
I think it's like one of those toys. Not sorry, toys. It's one of those tools that you should
Mm.
always have.
Yeah.
It's like a flashlight, or like you should always just have something with you like that. You always have rope with you, right?
Yeah.
All right, underrated, overrated. Sissification.
Underrated, yeah. Because I think this is why it's happening. I think to be a fully balanced person, you want to have feminine and masculine traits. obviously men are going to have more masculine traits overall, but sometimes they need to tap into that feminine energy, which is conditioned out of them at a young age. So some of my subs who like to dress are then allowing their feminine side to get through, and it's been really good for them. It's good for the soul. It's taken them on a journey that they've embarked on, and taught them a bit more about feminine ways. So I think it is about the balance.
Mm-hmm. Underrated, overrated. The St. Andrew's cross.
It's okay. I mean, I'm quite short, so unless I've got really big heels on, it's quite tricky for me reaching up. I want to make sure I've got access to their nipples, so I prefer the pegging bench or a massage table where I can just tie them down and access all areas without having to stretch my arms and overexert them.
Okay, so you said that you're quite short. Sunshine, who's my dom right now, she's short as well. Do you find how do you use your height, right, or your lack of height, in your BDSM sessions, or your being a dominatrix?
I mean, they absolutely love it. Some of them are really turned on by the fact they're being dominated by someone that's so small, because there's an extra dimension and layer of, I suppose, it makes them feel weaker. Because if I was a huge strapping 7-foot dom, it probably wouldn't be that hard to dominate them. But because I'm small, it blows their mind. They don't always realise how short I am, because my height is on my profile, but I always wear big chunky heels. And then it's only when I go, I'm going to take my boots off now, and they see that, oh, you're actually really small, aren't you? They love it.
All right, underrated, overrated. Heels.
Oh, definitely underrated. I love heels. I've got a big fetish for platform shoes myself. That's my thing. I love boots, heels. Yeah, love shoes.
Underrated, overrated. Water sports.
It's become really popular. I mean, if it didn't exist, would it change my life in any way? No. Does it amuse me sometimes to look down and see them receiving? Yes. So, yeah, not really swayed either way on that one too much.
And of course, Joseph, who's been asking, do you piss in their mouth if they request you?
Absolutely, yeah. 100%.
Kind of goes without saying, yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, we talked about poetry, you talked about books. So, how do you think you're writing, right, and what you're doing? I personally think it's helping other people. It helped me. Knowing you has helped me, seriously. So, how do you feel that you're helping the kink community?
I think it's helping them maybe connect with things inside of themselves that they maybe weren't aware of before. And I mean, I've read books from authors when I was younger, and I've been touched and moved, and it's really helped me. So I think if I can do that for anyone else, that can only be a great thing. So I always try and write from the heart and be authentic and the real version of myself. And I think some people are quite shocked by that because you give so much of yourself away in that book, and it's really honest. And I didn't want to write a book any other way. It did come from that. And if you want to connect with people authentically, you're not going to do that by wearing a mask and pretending to be something different. So for me, that was about authenticity. And, there's so many people that said, I could really relate to that. And I went through something similar. So it's made writing a book worth it.
Now, when writing my books, let me put it this way. Artistically, I use what they call an obstruction. And that's like from Lars van Trier. You have a story, you have a certain thing, but you take certain things away or put an obstruction. So my obstruction is it has to be true. It had to really happen. I could tell it my way. I could elaborate on certain things. I could, expand things and for dramatic effect, but My
Yeah.
thing was, and I could label it fiction, change the names, but it has to be 100% realistic. So there's no aliens, there's no other dimensions, there's no portals, there's no reincarnation, no fantasy or anything like that. Do you have obstructions that you give yourself?
Do I have a structure that I give myself?
Obstructions, or like, do you have certain rules that you have when you're writing? Are there certain rules that you give yourself, like you can't do this, or you have to write in the first person, you can't write in the third person, or it has to be realistic, or you can't go through a what's the word I'm looking for? Something unrealistic, so to speak. So do you give yourself any kind of obstruction?
I'll tell you what, there's a brilliant quote, and I can't remember who it's by, but I live my writing life through it. It basically says something along the lines of no laughter in the writer, no laughter in the reader, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. So obviously, while you're writing this journey, you have to feel a range of emotions. And if you don't, the reader's going to find it flat and dull. So you should use your emotions to guide you. And it's great to have structure, but I think you can't be too clinical and too overly structured, because it kind of removes the passion and the fire from it.
Yes, Stan Vladimir says, when it comes to writing scenes that involve kink, BDSM, do you add fantasy, sci-fi, or do you like to do a more realistic approach?
I do have a brain that loves the fantasy world. I've always been a big fantasist ever since I was a child. I used to water these little seeds at the bottom of the garden, thinking it was going to grow up to be the faraway tree. And then obviously as an adult, those thoughts become kinkier. I've got a fetish at the moment that I've been dabbling in a lot with one of my subs, which is basically like gynoid, cybernetic. And that I found really good fun, and that's something I want to get more into.
And of course, Joseph's back. You allow sweat sessions where they go to the gym and change clothes and they basically sweat and they clean the sweat. They obviously, you already said they're not licking your body, but does sweat ever play a part in any of your sessions, either your sweat or their sweat?
Yeah, they come to the gym with me. Yeah, definitely. I'd probably go into lieutenant mode and make them do like 100 press-ups or something ridiculous, and then punish them for failing. But if they please me well enough, they might be able to lick a toe or an armpit, maybe. We'll see. Or maybe I just make them sit there. Who knows?
I keep on getting this question you keep on sending me, Erin. your very first time of ever, we all start out, we make mistakes. So what would you say one of the major mistakes you've made, especially during when you're starting out in your first time?
Probably disorganization. Yeah, I think my first session I ever did, it was a guy that worked for a governmental agency, and he turned up on the door. It was just after Christmas, and I misread my days, and we'd been partying a little bit. I was in my 20s then, I was a lot younger, and this guy turned up at the door. I'm like, what do you want? I'm in my dressing gown. He's like, hello, mistress, have I arrived a bit early? So I just went, oh, God. I didn't realise it was. I just went, go to the cafe down the road. I will let you know when you're allowed to come in. And he loved it. He actually loved that I sent him away for a coffee. And then by the time he came back an hour later, it was all glam and ready to session. So it was great. And it was a really good session. Yeah, he was rolling around with a pig fetish on the floor, oinking for me. Playing little animal roles and being degraded. So that was my kind of first foray into humiliation play.
Did we do this overrated, underrated puppy play?
Oh, we didn't know. I think I interrupted you when you said that. Underrated. I really enjoy puppy play. I think it's great fun. So one thing I really do love to do is to get a lot of my subs on a collar and leash, and the more pink and sparkly and pretty, the better. So they learn to walk always a stride behind, never in front. But it's just the little games that I like to play with them as well. Oh, you asked me earlier about the most sadistic. So the most sadistic thing was making somebody eat dog food.
Oh, was it at least a high quality dog food or low? Does it make a difference?
So I think it was the cheapest can they could find.
They brought their own dog food to eat.
get some. By the way, when you're in a shop, bring some dog food for me. Did you know you're going to do this?
This is an interesting question, Joseph. I'm going to reword it. Have you ever liked someone and did you cross the dom limit with him? So basically, it's transference is a major aspect in the kink community, right? Subs fall in love with their doms. Sometimes doms fall in love with their subs. So do you ever kind of feel yourself getting into that territory ever?
No, there's a very strong divide there. I think I can have great friends that are subs, but I think professionally I have to kind of hit the kill switch.
And what do you do when, because I mean, come on, you are easy to fall in love with, right? You're incredibly beautiful, you're talented, you're kinky as can be. You have this fire in you, this energy that you want to bring people together. You're very easy to fall in love with. So what happens when subs fall in love with you?
I mean, it depends on how that's delivered and how they interact with me. It might be as simple as a quick chat. I did have an experience a little while ago, and we're still friends now, which is great. But I had to lay down my boundaries, and I think that is the key: is making sure your boundaries are very firm, and and that's why, like, I don't tend to. If someone I've just met them and they ask me to, oh, do you want to go for a drink or some food? That would be an absolute no-no. I'd say you have to pay for my time, because the minute and it's okay with the older sub to understand it a bit more, but if you cross that line, they can somehow start thinking that you're dating, and I don't want to lead anyone on at all.
Definitely. So let me ask you this. With platforms, people being deplatformed all the time, Twitter is now X, things going on with like Eros, OnlyFans, people are getting deplatformed left and right. My Facebook just got deleted. 10 years of Facebook. Tanek. Everybody out there, go contact Facebook, say we want Nicholas Tanek back.
Yeah.
So all of those interviews, everything, the pictures, all gone, just erased.
That's ridiculous.
So let me ask you this: how can kinky people keep the communication going? How can we keep this? Because this is a lifestyle that is relatively underground. You know what I mean? So communication is the key. Platforms like this show, that's part of the vibe of the show, is trying to keep the communication going. So how can kinky people communicate and help each other out?
It is very hard. I would say like share your, if you're a fan of someone, or if you're a fellow dom, share your friend's work, retweet. We should definitely support each other more, and rise by lifting others. And also don't forget, there's some apps that are probably not going to be lost. So the likes of getting banned on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram is very likely for a lot of people in the community, but there's still places like Snapchat and Telegram, which is more private. So the more places you follow someone, the better. And then if, what's the word? If the TF happens, without swearing, we follow each other and support.
Nice, definitely.
Isn't it? Yeah, SHTF. You know what I'm talking about. The fan.
Stan Vladimir asks, if you have the opportunity to direct a movie, would you adapt one of your books or do something completely original? And what would the subject matter be? What would the movie be about?
Yeah, I did actually adapt one of my books into a script, but it needs a bit more juice. It needs a bit of work on it. But if I could do a film script about anything, do you know what? I think I'd like to do something that was like part gangster, part about the BDSM community, and then just interweave all the stories, so it's like working in synchronization. So how do they all know each other? I'm just think crazy.
Yeah,
mind blowing.
I was thinking about maybe we could do this in real life. I was thinking about a high end kind of, think of I was watching Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. Have you seen that?
It's got such.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a rich people British gangster type movie, very posh, very privileged, but it's straight up they're killing each other and they're growing weed. But I was thinking there is a lifestyle, a kink lifestyle, so I would love to see something like that, the drama of very high end European kink. You know, that's a drama, the soap opera. Enough. The drama, the story is amazing. Grant Shelley says, great interview. Have a wonderful evening.
You too, lovely.
And then someone, Service Submissive, is asking about the podcast that you had. I think we addressed that as well. So please rewind
to do that.
Now, as a final thing, let me ask you this. You have experience. I have experience. We've lived a life, and we have embraced the lifestyle and stuff like that. But both of us are learning. We're still learning. As much as experience we have, and as much as we could teach, we're still going on our path. Where do you want your path to take you?
So I've got a dream. I'm going to dom lots more people, make some more hot and kinky content, write more books, and then when I retire, I'm going to go and run a smoothie bar somewhere like Spain. I'm going to do delicious smoothies. I'm not going to tell you all my secrets and ideas in case someone nicks them, but that's the goal. Just be on the beach, selling smoothies, and living the good life.
Wonderful. Princess Kaz B, thank you so much. Life is just falling apart around us. The world is chaos, and then there's you. There's you giving us some discipline, giving us something to inspire us. Please go out there, buy Miss Kaz B's books, support the documentary. Tell us, what's the name of the documentary?
I can't tell you yet.
Okay, but keep in touch. Stay tuned. Stay tuned to me and Miss Kaz B. Find out about this documentary. It's great. And please support. Please, how can people get in touch with you? How can people give you money? How can people support your creative projects and buy your books and everything? Go.
Well, if they go on my Linktree, it's basically Linktree/KazBXX. I find all of my work there. All my books are on Amazon. Go to Amazon, check it out. Confessions of a Dominatrix, my secret BDSM life. Go buy that now. Give me a follow on Twitter if you're not doing so already. But Linktree/KazBXX.
And please go to yourkinkyfriends.com. We have a Discord chat group. We have Patreon. I have a lot of content. We're going to put it on. We have some interesting plans, some very, very interesting plans. We're getting the kink community together so we could stay kinky for you. Go to Your Kinky Friends Twitter, Nicholas Tanek. Buy my books. I have 3 books. Your Kinky Friends. I have The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself, and also Chip Black Nail Polish. They're all true stories, and they're filled with kinky sex, hard drugs, and a lot of music references. Miss Kaz B, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Once again,
have me on. I'm absolutely honored. It's always a pleasure podcasting with you.
Please stay on after the show. I'd like to talk with you more, but remember the cardinal rule, everybody. Be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Take care.